Good day, everyone. So I'm not going to lie when I say I really love the combination of Nilou and Kokomi, especially in this bountiful core team. They work so well together and they complement each other so well. I do believe that this is the sort of first team that I've seen where a character like Nilou brings out the full scope, the full vector of possibilities that lies within Kokomi's kit, and that to me is so exciting. So let's just quickly remind ourselves of what Kokomi does. So she obviously provides off-field healing and on-field healing to the entire party, absolutely great, coupled with a very large HP pool. Kokomi herself is a very strong stabilizer and tank for the team. Together with that, she provides hydro damage as well as an additional non-negligible source of physical damage to the team. So she provides 2 damage sources, so good. Kokomi herself provides ranged damage very effectively, being able to track multiple targets. And then finally, the AoE off-field hydro is just sort of the big thing that makes Kokomi so stand out as a character. So these are quite a lot of things that Kokomi can do. So how does Nilou actually enable all of these things? Well, let's quickly go over them one by one. Now, first off, with Kokomi's healing, you often run into a situation where her healing is only really useful for supplementing Ocean Youth Clam damage, because the enemies in this game don't really attack that aggressively. It's not like you are constantly in a situation where the entire team needs a top up. So because of the difficulty and how casual the game is in Genshin Impact, a lot of Kokomi's healing is in a certain sense wasted or lost. In particular, Constellation 2 feels kind of like, well, what's the point, because you're never really below 50% health. And this is what I believe Nilou really sort of helps in, because of the fact that these Dendro cores love exploding and dealing damage to whoever is on the field and so on. You have now the unique opportunity to heal the entire party with Kokomi, as well as run into instances where even Kokomi or Nilou can be below 50% HP, and then that Constellation 2 from Kokomi just kicks in, and it's so satisfying. And also, of course, the additional side effect of that is that your Ocean Youth Clam set is also going to do a bit more damage. So it really is nice. So the interplay with the bountiful core mechanic itself with Kokomi works nicely, and this also means that you can be far more aggressive in stacking HP on Nilou and getting more and more damage through your bountiful cores, or sticking a lot of EM on one of your Dendro units. So a really nice sort of interplay there. Obviously, Kokomi's large HP pool complements the Nilou team because of all the bountiful cores exploding. Having Nilou and Kokomi being able to suck up the bulk of that damage is so good, and this actually complements the hydro application so well, because Kokomi's got a static jellyfish and this ticks every 2 minutes, but Nilou's got a hydro ring that can actually overlap. If you overlap the two, you can have a hydro application every single second, and because the bountiful cores explode so quickly, you just need consistent Dendro application, and there you go. You just have non-stop explosions like you can see here against Magukenki, and it's all passive damage. It's just you don't really have to do that much actively, and it's just really good. The other thing that you often find in these Nilou Kokomi sort of team comps is that the enemies themselves, even though they might be sort of spread out and you can hit all of them with, let's say, Dendro Traveler and Nilou's ability to just apply AoE big Hydra and so on, is the fact that very often not all of the enemies are always clumped up. So Kokomi herself can actively stand in to do damage to these ranged targets where you've now exhausted, let's say, all your Dendro and your Hydra from Nilou and some of the other characters. And then Kokomi can attack these targets at range. And if you, let's say, have your Dendro field on the battlefield from, let's say, the Dendro MC and so on, you can still trigger bountiful cores even if the enemies are standing at range. I feel this is such a nice application because you're not really losing out your positioning. You are instead cleaning out the fights, and you're actively using Kokomi in her elemental burst to do so while still fulfilling all of the other roles and so on. When it comes to the characters and their constellations, you'll obviously notice that Kokomi herself on her C1 provides an additional instance of Hydro, which during her elemental burst when attacking, and I feel this really complements the fact that Dendro is such a greedy element because it soaks up Hydro, so you are actually really well poised to sort of trigger more bountiful core explosions with that passive from Kokomi. And I think this is another little hidden synergy that just sort of is unlocked, as well as like with a C2. And of course, the C4 on Kokomi enables her to attack a lot faster. So this just means you can overall generate more and more bountiful cores on, let's say, a couple of different enemies that perhaps are standing just at the outskirts of like this little big dendro field and so on. So I do feel like the constellations themselves also play very nicely in a team like this. And of course, we must also not forget that Nilou herself has a C2 that reduces the enemy's hydro resistance once your characters have the golden chalice effect. In other words, Nilou presses her E 3 times, and basically whenever your Kokomi, you can see in the background, I do 18, 19k. Whenever I attack the enemy, their hydro resistance is reduced by 35%. It's just ridiculous. It's almost better in a sense. It has more uptime than even a VV shred. Combined with Kokomi C6 of a 40% hydro damage bonus, well, look, the combination of these two have already given you the value of a Kazuha. Kazuha's like full buff to Kokomi doing damage. It's just, it really is insane. And of course, Nilou herself benefits because she's also a hydro character. I feel like it's such a strong constellation. And we should not forget that also whenever you produce dendro cores, whenever those dendro cores explode, the enemy's resistance will also be decreased to dendro damage. So yeah, pretty crazy. All in all, I'm super happy. Nilou, Kokomi, just two fantastic units.